You know, I've hated on Samsung in the past. I always looked at them as Apple's arch nemesis, and they copy Apple all the time, and that's why they're successful. However, I've come to think of them really differently now, especially since I've used, you know, some other hardware developers. Now, several times Apple even made the case in court that Samsung has drastically altered their design schemes ever since Apple's success of the iPhone, and that may be true in some instances. You know, like when the fingerprint reader came out, Samsung had to make their version of it, and even when they made a really good phone, the Galaxy S5, it didn't sell that well. So their plan was to then turn their phones into iPhone-ish looking devices, and that made them sell really well. But in many ways, the Galaxy S7 and S6 outdid the iPhone in certain categories. With the curved displays and later the water resistance, that new rounded display technology almost makes the bezels go away, and the cameras on them are pretty stunning, having used them in the past myself. And now with the Galaxy S8 coming out at the end of the month, we're gonna get to see all the new ideas they have with the on-screen nav buttons, the removal of the home button, the new ratio of the display, and the fingerprint reader on the back. And as I explained earlier, the iPhone 8 looks fairly similar to the S8, and this year's iPhone is adapting quite a lot of features that Samsung's been using for a while. You know, the better waterproofing, the edge-to-edge display, iris scanner potentially, something that's not really the best way of logging in, but the Note 7 was pretty unique with it, till it had its old fiasco. And of course, this is the year Apple's making that switch to OLED, which to me doesn't make a huge difference, but it opens more possibilities for dark mode, battery saving capabilities, coloring options, and that massive 5.8-inch display in a smaller form factor. Have you noticed most of the excitement for the iPhone 8 has all been around the display? You know, the back of it no one really talks about. It's glass. Okay, cool. But wireless charging's another thing. But we're all talking about how cool that display is. And guess who's building it? Lo and behold, not only has Samsung been building about half of the processing chips in Apple's phones for the last couple years, they're now building the display that we're all so hyped about, and who better to get to do the job? They know how OLED works, they know how to make these edge-to-edge displays, and now Apple users are finally getting a taste of that. So why Samsung is okay with giving their main competition new features that they've had? I don't know, but maybe they make quite a bit of income off of Apple's success. Samsung also makes a lot of solid-state drives that Apple uses in their products. So what I want to say to all you Apple sheep out there, and I know there's a lot of you in my comments down there, even though we love Apple more and we don't want to make that switch to Samsung, of course not, that company makes Apple's ecosystem the way it is. And they push the limit of what smartphones can do. They raise everything to a higher standard. So what we see on this generation of Galaxy phones, we can be excited for because we know Apple is then going to perfect it on theirs and optimize it with their software, which is really what we love about our Apple products. Samsung hardware is great, but the software is where it's lacking for most Apple sheep, in our opinion. As Samsung continues to sell more and more products, I'd be really excited to see if they could ever in-house create their own software that runs across all of their products. That way we could finally have a true Apple competitor that designs the software and hardware together across an entire ecosystem of products. That I would love to see. So thanks Samsung today, and I can't wait to see the Galaxy S8 at the end of the month. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.